Kick it off. All right, folks, welcome back to the Land Fixer podcast. This is Logan Swanson, your host, and we have our first guest ever on the podcast. The reason I don't have a lot of guests is because I don't like coordination, but we do have a number of people that are coming up here shortly covering development projects, funding, all that sort of good stuff. But today I want to introduce Eric Smith with Vacant Realty Group. There we go.
That's it.
We're partnered with Eric here in a pretty sizable development out in Tennessee, and we are getting to some crucial steps, about to slide into marketing. But what I thought would be cool is to dive into all those early steps around how you look at a huge piece of land and see a vision that is a money-making vision. So Eric, go ahead, introduce yourself, maybe a little bit about your background, maybe a little bit what got you into land, and then I'll start grilling you about this development.
Sure. Thank you, Logan, for having me on. And it's exciting. I'm your first guest here. I feel like we should break out some champagne or something and cheers to that.
I got the Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, as you said, my name's Eric Smith. I'm with Vacant Realty Group. I have one partner, Ryan, who helps me day to day with the deals that we work on sourcing and all the due diligence. I guess just to backtrack a little bit, I got in land. It's been probably 15, 16 years now, or at least over that. I was in college on a soccer scholarship, had a couple knee injuries, dropped out, just kind of lost my sense of direction. And I got back into college and I was in my early 20s, and I just got to a point where I was tired of hearing about the great kegger the previous weekend from some people that were younger than me. I had friends that were graduating from college, and I just didn't really have any direction or motivation. And I had a friend that was living out in Las Vegas that was killing it with residential real estate. And I just, on a whim of hope, I dropped out of college again, moved out to Las Vegas, and I just started networking my butt off, really, trying to meet the movers and shakers within the Las Vegas real estate community. And I really kind of stumbled into land. I initially wanted to get into commercial. I saw a little bit more money potential there. And I was with a group that specialized in developing turnkey medical offices. So this is essentially my first sales job. And my role was to try to find medical groups, doctors that wanted to own their own office. And this is back when fax machines existed. So it was fax blasting medical offices, trying to get some interest. And lo and behold, I sold an office. And then a few days later, the guys I worked for took me to the coffee shop one morning, and they essentially fired me. That is not going to work out. After I had my first sale, they let me go, and I walked out with my tail between my legs, teary-eyed, struggling with motivation. What am I going to do? Is this what I should be doing? And I just went back to work trying to find my next step there. And through a developer friend, was connected with a land group. They're no longer around. The name of the group is Land Baron Investments, and they were really active in the southwestern United States. And they did a lot of subdivides, entitlement work, flips. And that's just really where I was kind of introduced to this idea of land investing. And they were excellent mentors, super humble guys, learned a lot from them. And it kind of a funny story about that is, so, I essentially kind of had lost out with the medical group that I was working with, and they had terms for a 300-acre development that they were purchasing from Land Baron. I had no idea that there was this connection before I started working for Land Baron. Well, this property was being acquired by a company out of California. So they needed the land group that I worked with to kind of cut them a deal, work out, this closing. And they caught wind that I, was owed some money by this group. So they said they wouldn't do the deal until they paid me what I was owed. So I was able to get that back through that group,
Hell
through this land
yeah.
group, kind of came first circle back. So that felt super good. It was good to see, just karma at play, I think. And that's really just kind of where it took off from there. And my primary role with Land Baron was to source opportunities. So things were really popping in Scottsdale, Scottsdale, Phoenix area.
Hmm.
And we had focused about 45 minutes northwest of that in an area called Buckeye, Arizona. It was kind of an up and coming area. And what I worked on was putting together assemblages. So I took a small track. This is before all technology that we have today existed. So it was just going on an old, outdated county website, looking at a section of land and just clicking around for landowners, trying to get their address using some public search record type of system that wasn't nearly what we have today, to try to find a phone number and try to get them on the phone, find out where they're at, and try to work a deal out. And then, I would push that through to my group. And then they had a group that had private and institutional investors that they had raised money from for the deals. And then 2008 came, market crashed, and nobody knew what to do.
Right.
And I kind of shifted directions, got into payment technology, which is where I've been working for the past 10 plus years. And the land niche has always been in my mind. I would just be driving around. I'd see an infill piece, a vacant piece, just
Yeah, you see
around
the
town.
money.
And
Yeah.
just the questions. I wonder what this story is with this property. Wonder what the potential is. But I never took any action. And then COVID came in. It was kind of a downtime for everybody. And I essentially just took action, got a website put together, and then started with a mail campaign, kind of how a lot of people have gotten started. And it was mail campaigns. And then my interest peaked around SMF marketing. And that's kind of where we're kind of building our foundation around now for our marketing channel. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of
Good
how I got
overview.
into it.
Man, you've
Yeah.
been doing this longer than me. That's awesome.
Well, there's a big gap there, but yeah, I mean, it hasn't really changed much in terms of the concepts. Kind of
Right.
knowing where the market value is and where you need to be to have the margin that you need to make a deal work. And so yeah.
Yeah, it's not reinventing the wheel. That's the interesting part. You start comparing all the different educational programs, and it's like, there's some secret herbs and spices maybe, but I mean, this is an old business, right?
Exactly.
It's really cool. I actually have somewhere around here, I have an old plat map of West Texas, Brewster County, when they cut that up back in like the 50s. And it's the same game. They were just owner financing, desert squares, or whatever else. Well, cool. So yeah, fast forward, we worked together. I funded, I don't know, a couple little deals for you, little flips. And then you came to me with this big boy. So tell me about the project that we have at hand, how you ran into it, and maybe just a general overview of the property itself.
Yeah. So subdividing is something that my partner and I have been working on for the past year and a half, 2 years in terms of education. It's something that, we have wanted to get involved with. We had signed up for a group mastermind that was specifically for subdividing and entitlement. And we were able to just suck out a ton of knowledge and understanding from that. And we just kind of kept it on our radar and have just been trying to look for the right opportunity to take a swing at. And we were very active in Tennessee with our marketing, just trying to find the land flip opportunities. And we got nowhere. It's a super competitive market. Usually we can get a I say pretty good response. We were able to get some response from a lot of the different counties and states that we've worked. Tennessee, there is nothing. I mean, a lot of the FUs coming back to us and just high prices, that were just very much in the clouds.
Yeah.
And I was frustrated talking with a broker that we had partnered with, and because we'd find some opportunity, find a piece of land, send it over to him, try to get that BPO taken care of. And, we weren't where we needed to be. I was on the phone with him one day, and I think I was complaining, like, we're not getting anywhere. I don't think Tennessee is meant to be. And within, I think that day, earlier in the day, because he had gotten onto his MLS system, And he's like, well, this may be something here. And he gave me some basic details, sent it over to me. And just based on the location and how it was priced, because of our understanding and knowledge for this market from working in, for 6 months, getting nowhere, just kind of seeing where the market values were at, where sellers were at, where the demand was at, and what's on the market. The big problem with Tennessee is, there's some properties on the market, but are they fairly priced and are they buildable? Because you got a lot of the mountain terrain there. So
Yeah, that's a
having a
big
property that's
question.
actually buildable is one thing, and then the fact that it's affordable. It makes sense. It's not a price that's just ridiculously high. So we just started doing some due diligence, and we tried working every single angle on trying to make some sense out of it. And we put some numbers together, and that's just kind of where it started. Is the numbers made sense initially? We thought that there was some great opportunity there, and we just went to work on it.
Awesome. So yeah, what are the details of this property? It's like 360 acres, something like that.
It's about 317 acres,
Okay.
and it's across the street from a small airport. And the thing I love about it is the proximity to nearby attractions. So one major development that's happening close by is this major motorsports and entertainment park. It's called Flat Rock Motorsports, and they're pumping a ton of money into the area. And it's about 7 minutes from where our property is located. It's about less than an hour from Knoxville. It's less than 2 hours from Nashville. It's close to Gatlinburg, and it's right off of the highway. So just from like a location perspective, it checked the box there. And, that's one thing, that we saw it had going for it.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful terrain. It's got creeks running through it. It's mountainous, right? It's pretty steep.
Yeah,
And
about Yeah,
go
sorry,
ahead.
about 70 to 80% pine trees. There's
Hmm.
creeks flowing through it. It's really a beautiful property. We've had, a number of individuals working on the property to date, and I've gotten a lot of good feedback, just from our consultants and whoever else that have been on the property.
So you had this vision. You're like, man, I think I could add some value here. I think I could subdivide it. And that's when we started talking, and you went through a few different iteration of lot sizes and layouts. So what was that process? Kind of a brief overview of maybe where you started and where we're at today.
So one thing we knew about this property is it would qualify as an exempt subdivision. So with Cumberland County, Tennessee, if we keep the acre total at 5+ acres for the lot size, and we don't bring any public water infrastructure to the property, which another key piece to this is there's a aquifer underneath. So it's a really good source of water. It's actually a value add. And for the feedback that I've gotten is a lot of the buyers, would more than likely prefer to have this water source than like public water, because what feedback that I've gotten is the ideal buyer wants a lot of land in Tennessee. They want their privacy. So we knew we had to stay at 5+ acres. We threw just kind of a preliminary site plan together and some numbers. And I think that's when we started our conversation with you,
Mhm.
to try to make it work. And then you had some great feedback in terms of like where you needed to be. And we went back to work and, just kept shaping it, the lot size, lot totals, it just, we kept tightening it up more and more to get it to a point that made sense.
Yeah, because we started first with, well, I really liked your approach as far as funding's concerned, because y'all, one of the first things you did is you put together a very professional proposal with the lot sizes, nearby attractions. You made all of our due diligence pretty simple, but you started with much larger lot sizes. I think the first layout was mostly 20+ acre lots. It was something like 20 of them, 21 lots, and the prices were all in the 250,000 plus per lot, something like that. And our chief concern was like, well, that's great, it's smaller inventory, but when your ticket price is so high, the higher the price point, the lower yeah, lower the buyer pool. So you went from that kind of larger acreage, and then we went a little further and further, and now, I think we have, what's our smallest lot right now? What's the inventory look like now?
So right now we have 27 lots. We just finished up our final site plan. So we have 27 lots, and the smallest is 5.6 acres up to, I think we have one that's 20 acres, and then it's below that. So we have many more smaller lots compared to that first draft that we put together.
Yeah, so the downside is there's more transactions, right? But the upside is now we are at a lower price point on many of those lots. We still have a couple higher ticket value lots. But what I liked a lot is, as we subdivided some, or, replatted and got some smaller and smaller lots, we weren't really adding to the CapEx, right? The roads have not really changed that much in each of these iterations. But even between the last proposal to this proposal, just with the toying around of lot lines, you added another potential 400,000 in profit or revenue just by tweaking those boundaries.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I was really amazed by that. So you started checking all your boxes. You got property. You started just rough scratching. I think the first map you sent us was on Onyx Hunt. We operated doing that for a while. Your due diligence, right? That included utilities, trying to get some pricing on road work, pricing on power, running power through the community. There was an easement to take care of. And then it started just being more of a complete picture with each step. You started fine tuning. But what I think is really important is that people see this as so daunting to do a subdivision, but it is all pretty much predictable. You start as high level as possible, try to do back of the napkin math. If we cut it here, if we cut it here, if we had 14 lots, 15 lots, this size, that size, spitballing. And then as you're able to interrogate and bring in your partners and talk over the project, it just fine tunes to the point now where we're having weekly calls and we're pretty much done with all of the decision making on the development side and the capital expenditure. And we're really gearing up to get into marketing, right? So let's highlight just maybe a couple of the steps that we're going into next. And then I think we're probably going to stop. And I think we're just going to plan on going into a part two, maybe in the next few weeks. So where are we at with the project today? And I think then you could probably conclude with how you feel about the whole thing so far. Like how much anxiety are you carrying around?
Yeah, thanks. So the sorry, I had a thought that I missed. You had a point or a question initially that I wanted to touch on.
Yeah. So what's the
Um,
current project look like today?
yeah, so we are finishing up our. Sorry, I just remembered. So you had mentioned, that there there's a process for this. This isn't. We're not reinventing the wheel here. This is
Mm.
nothing new that we're going through here. There's a process for, according to Cumberland County, Tennessee requirements. What you have to do. There's some wetland areas on the property. And so initially we had to go through, that's kind of what we're finishing up right now, is that process. So we had a consultant that's been out there doing all the environmental assessments, packaging it up to get the permits completed. And that's kind of where we're at with that stage, is getting that submitted so we can get our permits, and then we'll go in and cut roads and get a surveyor out to break up the lot. But that's pretty much it in terms of the development that we're having to do. We'll have the electric lines run along the roadway, but a positive that we had that kind of helped our costs is there's roads already on the property. This was logged many years ago. So there's a main road that goes right down the center of the property to the back side of it. And we discovered throughout our process here, there's a couple other side roads. So we just worked that into our site plan to kind of maximize our lot layout using the existing roads so that our road cost is going to be less. So that's pretty much where we're at from a development scope. And we're really getting dialed into the marketing right now because we don't have these lots broken up and have, photos of each lot just yet today. It's going to be starting out, just getting somebody excited about the location, about what's coming, giving them the vision, kind of like what we did with the presentation that we had initially sent over to you on this. It's just giving an envision of what the potential is and getting people excited about it. And then, we're going to be moving pretty quickly here now, over the next couple months, and be able to make, more updates to the website, just bring more light to this and start having some conversations with buyers and signing them up on kind of a pre-sale scenario. And then once we're ready to close on the lots, then we'll be able to have that all set up.
Yeah. So how do you feel about it overall? You just super excited? You still carrying some anxiety? Is it more than you thought it would be? Less than you thought it would be?
We have a good team around us, which helps. Partnering with you, Ryan, and Alyssa has been amazing. You guys have been great support from the beginning. You believed in this and believed in us and gave us this opportunity. So that gave me some confidence, to give this our all. And we've been able to build a good team with the environmental engineer, the civil engineer. Our broker is amazing. He's been right by our side. He's been our boots on the ground, our local expert for this market. So I think the team has helped. And we got the city of Rockwood support, which has helped. But to answer your question, I still do have anxiety. I mean, it's all this thing is done. And, we sell 27 lots. I think once we get this marketing going, hopefully next week, and we'll be able to start getting some interest coming in, having some conversations with buyers, it'll put my anxiety to rest a bit there.
Yeah, it's exciting. But on the flip side, if everything goes according to plan, are we looking at probably some life-changing money?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is instead of doing, one-off flips, we have 27 lots here that we can profit from. So I'm all about, the shortest end to that end goal, and subdividing entitlement work. There's just so much more money and opportunity, I think, in it to be able to bring value to a vacant piece of land. This is just 300 acres of just trees and dirt. And, there was nothing else there. And we saw the location and the demand potential. And, now we're starting to put some life to it. And it's really cool to see, this thing shape up to where it's at today.
Yep. And here's the hard part to digest is it's time to start looking for the next one already. As soon as you get to the marketing phase, you're like, oh crap, I need to have the next one in development soon.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. My partner, Ryan, and I, we're having those conversations, and we're on the lookout.
Yeah. And the beautiful part is once you get through one development and you understand the market, you're like, this is where I want to work. If it goes according to plan, we have the same feeling in East Texas and a couple of the other areas that we work. And you realize the deeper you dive into a county, which is kind of necessary when you're doing a development like this, the more confidence you have to go do it again. Because it's like, I know what this is worth. I know what the process is like. I have a civil engineer there. I have a surveyor there. I have a road guy there. I don't have to go reinvent it,
Yeah.
Well, cool. Eric, thank you for your time. I look forward to our next one where probably we're diving into marketing strategies, how we're organizing all of that, billboards, any other cool marketing strategies that we're going to utilize to get these lots sold. And thank you for being the first guest on the podcast. Folks, probably on the next one, I think we're going to try to bring in some visuals so y'all can look at the development itself and get a feel for things. And once we have the website, I'm also going to push y'all over there to take a look at it. And in the meantime, thank you everybody for listening, tuning in. This is the Land Fixer Podcast. I'm Logan Swanson. Thank you to Eric with Vacant Realty Group, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thank you, Logan.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We nailed it.